Well, first of all, I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. Tonight, my guest is Freddie. His last name, Freddie?
Ephraim.
Ephraim. All right. So Freddie is an East Coast guy like myself from Maryland. I was born and raised from Maryland. It sounds like you were born and stayed there. Is that correct?
Yeah. Kind of. I've been a couple places.
Yeah. But you pretty much ended up where you started, right?
Yeah.
Well,
For now, you're never stagnant. Never stagnant.
Yeah, no, I'll go a little bit of my story, but yeah, for everyone that's watching, thank you so much for tuning in my YouTube channel, Whiskey Wednesday Weekly. And if you're listening on podcast, go ahead and like, subscribe, and obviously follow. Go from there. So my good friend Freddie here, who I just met on Instagram, I believe he goes by the Whiskey Thief. Is that correct?
That's right. I just put it on my name there because I'm used to doing that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I reached out to him via Instagram just because I, follow different people and I look for different things. And I saw that he was a host or something of a whiskey show yourself.
Yeah, so I do something that's called Whiskey Business. And I'll be honest with you, I haven't done that many shows lately, though, because I used to be like a little bit involved with the Bourbon Alliance. And then Bourbon Alliance just exploded, like literally like almost not overnight. But it just really took off. And we're doing 1 to 2 tastings a week with a distillery. And it's like, this is a hobby. It needs to stay a hobby.
Right.
If I'm doing 3 things a week, that's a job. That's not a hobby.
Right. I know how that is.
Yeah. Really just kind of how that goes. Bourbon Alliance. So
now, what is Bourbon Alliance? Because I saw that it said co-creator and all that good stuff, and I just went to the hashtag and it's just got posts.
I'm not the FNG there anymore. I'm actually Candace is the FNG there. So Bourbon Alliance is just really a group of bourbon and whiskey enthusiasts.
Okay.
That it was started by Kevin, who his handle's You Got That Pappy. So he's actual founder, and it was his idea. And ultimately speaking, it was just the same people with the same values, the same enthusiasm, and we just started talking a whole bunch. And again, I'm talking as the FNG-ish. I mean, they were together months and months, about 6 months before I came into it. And we basically just started talking whiskey, and it started becoming a thing, I think, right before I got invited by Kevin to be a member of it. And we started just tagging. So it's really, it can be anybody with, you do hashtag Bourbon Alliance. That's really how you can communicate with us the best. And we just like to share whiskey. And then we ended up really kind of getting involved with craft distilleries first.
Okay.
And with the craft distilleries, we started just working with them, and they started sending us samples, and we started all reviewing it, and then it turned into what's a video log? Is that a vlog?
Vlog, yeah.
Like a blog that's a video, I guess. A vlog. Yeah, so we started doing that, and then we started doing these whiskey tastings, and we started our YouTube channel, I mean, literally like a month or 2 ago, very, very recent. We just launched a website about 2 weeks ago, and there's press releases on there. There's a couple reviews on there. But more importantly, if you miss a program like this, you can find it on the website. And the website's theallianceshare.com.
Okay.
And now we're starting to work with bigger distilleries, like the session on Monday night that was with Angels Envy Rye. We've got Peerless coming up. We're starting to work with some pretty big distilleries now, but we don't want to lose focus on those craft ones that are really trying to break out in the market. And there's just so much tremendous whiskey out there. And it's really just trying to highlight people out there saying, hey, there's really good bottles that are $200, but there's a shitload of bottles that are great that are $30. Like, it's a fantastic $40 bottle.
Yeah, absolutely. Is that the same one I've got? I've got the small batch.
I haven't had the small batch. Actually, sour mash is some of my favorite stuff in the world.
Yeah.
Oh, have you had the sour mash?
No, I do have the straight rye, which is single barrel as well. But I have had the straight mash. I just don't have it in stock right now. I drank it, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. So now, actually, my top 5 favorite whiskeys is I don't pop it out all the time, but I've got a sour mash toasted barrel finish, which is just out of this world.
Nice. From Victor's?
Anything toasted barrel, sign me up. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, you like the toasted stuff. Well, that's cool to know. I mean, I'm glad. So what's your YouTube channel? And then obviously, mine's actually Ken Boone Whiskey. Mine actually doesn't go by Whiskey Wednesday Weekly, just because once I started it, people started following me too much and I didn't want to change it. So it's just Ken Boone with hashtag whiskey, but my obviously show is Whiskey Wednesday Weekly. And what do you guys go on?
So the actual name of the show is called What's Your Proof, because that's going over the distillery and what that is. But it's really, their online channels, the Bourbon Alliance. And then the itself is the Alliance Share.
Oh, okay. Cool. Now, is that are you guys making money off that, or is that just a thing?
Not right now. I don't want to say, oh, we'll never make money off it. You know, we're just right now. We're just a bunch of
Passionate
people.
whiskey drinkers. Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? And we're just into tasting whiskey and sharing our whiskey thoughts. So that being said, we are releasing our first barrel pick here shortly. I can't say what it is just yet.
Yeah.
We're getting into barrel picks and stuff like that. But yeah, it may be monetized at some point, but that's not the goal.
That's not the goal. Yeah, yeah. I just didn't know if it was there yet. So cool. And what's your Instagram? Just, I think it's _whiskey_thief, correct?
Yep, the Whiskey Thief. Yeah, _whiskey_thief.
Perfect, perfect. Yeah, I know mine is actually Whiskey Wednesday Weekly on Instagram. So that being said, I do want to get a little bit of your story. My show is basically all about people's stories and journeys, and we'll kind of keep it short. But you know, ahead of time, since we just now met, you know, just a couple of weeks ago online, I did discover that you obviously are a pilot and currently a helicopter rescue pilot, correct?
Rescue, yeah, I call it medevac.
Medevac, okay, yeah. You're still flying for medical reasons, okay.
That's it, yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
That being said, though, you said you started out, before that, you were more of an airplane pilot and an instructor, is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. No, I used to fly for the airlines. I flew for the regionals for a little bit, so I flew Embraer 170, 190 for the regionals and did that for a little bit, and that was 2008. And the only reason I switched so quickly was 2008, the recession. And it hit, and then I went from one of the highest time pilots in the room to one of the lowest time pilots in the room overnight. And that's why it's funny. I talked to all these pilots in these regionals lately that are getting furlough left and right, and they're like, "Man, this sucks. This sucks." I get it. Like I lived it 12 years ago, like cut and paste 12 years ago, and that's why I switched to helicopters. Not that I didn't look back. Actually, I'm looking at potentially flying this jet coming up here soon, a little corporate jet. I don't know if I'm going to end up doing it or not. It just landed here in the area up at Martin State. But I might pick that up part-time just because I miss flying the airplanes. I love airplanes, and it's been a while since I've really kind of gotten into the behind the yoke instead of the cyclic, and so that might come. I just love flying, man. It's the best job.
Well, what's funny is two episodes ago, even though I've had a couple weeks between the two episodes, we had a Marine pilot, Ryan Stellhorn, who came from the Midwest a little bit when he was born and raised, but then he ended up being a Marine pilot. And he did a similar thing. He went to the academy for 4 years, was a Navy guy, decided to be a pilot. Then he became a helicopter pilot after all the flight stuff. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. You guys have a good story. Now, my other question is, you were saying you're not born. I mean, I guess you were, but you did Springfield, Maryland, or Spring?
No, it's Silver Spring, Maryland.
Silver Spring, Maryland. Okay.
Yeah, you're thinking Virginia, but it's Silver Spring, Maryland. Yeah.
Got it. And I'm from the Eastern Shore. More on the Easton, Maryland side.
I say, was it Easton?
Easton, yeah.
What's the name? Were you actually from Easton, or is it one of the little towns? I know the Eastern Shore very well.
No, Easton, Maryland. Yeah, right. If you just drive maybe 45 minutes in from Kent Island. So
yeah, because a lot of people would be like Easton. I'm like, yeah, but where are you really from? Are you from like Nanticoke? Are you from like Kent Narrows? Are you from, you know what I mean, like Dorchester?
Yeah, Oxford or St. Michael's. Yeah, no, I was born right there in Maryland. Yeah, yeah.
That's the big city on the Eastern Shore.
It is now. It was so tiny, man. When I first.
Man, they're on the up and up.
Yeah, I'm 49, so you know I was a little kid back then. But yeah, it's cool to hear that you guys. When I reached out, I'm like, "Where are you from?" You're like, Maryland. I'm like, holy crap. Yeah. And then you got I saw a video with like your Maryland tree with the flag in the background. That was badass. Yeah.
It's so funny. Yeah. But as you said that, it's funny because you don't really meet very many people from Maryland outside of Maryland.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. Like, unless you're in it, you don't go and like, oh, this guy from San Diego reached out and he lived in Maryland for 19 years before he went in the military. That's my story. Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. So that being said, you had said that you wanted to be a pilot since you were a kid. Like, what did that mean? How did you know that?
No, literally, that's it. It's just kind of like, you know, some people are born knowing what they wanted to do, and that was me. I've always wanted to be a pilot. I've always been fascinated with aviation. I've always been fascinated with airplanes. I've always been fascinated with helicopters. Just always had a fascination from literally the earliest memory ever. Huh. You know, it wasn't something I was like, you know, met someone someday and was like, oh, that would be cool, or like fell back into it. It's like, it's what I've always wanted to do.
I knew, as a 5-year-old kid, you had the whole stars, and you're like, I just want to fly. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, I was that Poindexter nerd with the stars on his ceiling.
That's funny because the other guy said the same thing. He's like, I was obsessed with aviation as a child. I'm like, wow, you don't really, you know, I guess you kind of have to be that. Now, did you go to college for that? Like, what do you do to become a pilot? Like, he went to the military. What do you do?
Yeah, There's two avenues to do it. You can do it civilian or you can do it military. That's literally about it. So if you go military, which is certainly the cheaper route, you can do that. Or if you went my route, you basically do self-pay. So you just enroll inside a flight school. I did all mine up at Frederick, Maryland. Did both airplane and helicopter. I started when I was 17 in high school, flying airplanes. And then 18, I kind of dabbled in the helicopter a little bit, got my private then. And then really ultimately just pursued the fixed wing route. Went up the fixed wing route, and then 2008, like I told you, airlines start furloughing left and right. And right before then, like people were begging you, just like they were back in January. They were begging you to come and fly. And then ultimately, when I got furloughed twice in 6 months, I just couldn't get a job. I literally couldn't get a job as an airplane pilot. You know what I mean? I was sitting there just trying to figure it out, and the way I did it was a flight instructor. And then at that point, trying to go back to flight instruction while I was in college, because I went to college for political science. I just needed to have a degree. You need to check the box. Yeah, I just need to check the box. I picked, Hood College up in Frederick, Maryland, just because the airport was like a mile and a half away.
Oh,
you know what I mean? I didn't really give it. I like politics, but like at the
you
end of the
said
day,
something to fall back on. Yeah.
Something to fall back on. I could always go work for FAA or something like that, but I lost my medical. But ultimately speaking, it was like, I just want to fly. So I did that, and then I just couldn't find a job, man. And, I went and took a desk job for 26 months. I feel like I should have like that spider tattooed because it felt like prison to me. Right. And I did that, and I still taught part-time, but I went back to flight school to go be a helicopter pilot. And it's like starting from day one.
Oh,
yeah, even though I had my private, it's like you have to go to school all over again. It was another year of school.
Oh.
And then doing it civilian, you have to do it like one-on-one with an instructor. You enroll in like a little mom and pop flight school type thing. And then you just kind of blow through your ratings as slow or as fast as you want to. And then you become an instructor, because that's how it is the only way to become a pilot. 99% of the way is become a flight instructor. People think flight instructors are older, and it's actually the opposite. It's the people trying to build hours. And I'll tell you, like, flight instructors can run circles around me. Could literally run circles around me as far as like book knowledge. Yeah, I might be able to like have more experience in the aircraft and weather and judgment and stuff like that, but as far as book smarts, will blow me out of the water.
Wow.
So it's one of those things where that's the best way to do it. So I had to do that, and then went through, became a helicopter instructor again, and I actually ended up teaching for the military. I wasn't in the military, but as a government contractor down at Fort Rucker. So taught the military guys down there, did that for about a year and a half, and then got hired as medevac, and I haven't really done anything else since, man. I just fly medevac and fly tours a little bit here and there for like a few years ago, but other than just on the side for fun. And then I really just do medevac now, man, and just flying and having a ball, dude.
Well, let me ask you that then. So in case someone's listening, that's in the youth, or, maybe someone that is curious when they're younger what they're going to do. Just a little bit of feed. I don't know what's going on. Not feed, but like
you can even be older if you want to. I have so many students of mine that were in the like 30s, 40s, 50s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you don't have to be, lots of people switch.
So I guess my thought process is, what does it take for someone? It sounds like just hours and time, but you're a medevac guy. Do you actually go and pick that field, or you're like, once you become a pilot, you just apply for different jobs? Is that right?
It's whatever you want to do. I mean, ultimately, you have to instruct in the beginning, which flight instruction is great for the first like 3 months, but then after that, you want to pistol whip yourself. It's really risky, really risky.
Because you're flying with students, right?
Yeah, you train someone flying aircraft, and it's a very risky environment. Things can go wrong very, very quickly. People are basically trying to kill you all day.
Right.
Getting your job to try and prevent them from crashing aircraft. That's what you do all day.
It's like a car student driver guy on the other side, right? Except you're in the air with $1 million machinery.
Yeah, you're sitting there and you both have controls and stuff like that, but ultimately they're trying to take your life the whole time, and you're trying to keep them alive the whole time. Right. It gets easier as they get further along with the ratings, and I make it sound a lot more dicey than it is. It's really not that bad. But
yeah.
After you get some experience, it's really not that bad. It can be very safe if you have the systems and processes, but it takes time to be able to develop that. So
yeah.
But yeah, man, you know what I mean? And just going through that stuff, and then you build your time, and then, your first hurdle is getting an instructor job. And then after that, your next hurdle is getting your first turbine jet engine job. You know what I mean? Whether it's helicopter or airplane. I mean, turbine is a turbine. Is trying to get that, because insurance is very hard. So you can either go to, like, in the helicopter side, Gulf of Mexico. You can go to do tours is a very common way to do it. That's about it. And then once you do that for about 500 hours of flight time, which sounds like it'd take no time at all. It's about a year or two.
Oh, yeah.
Then you can get a big boy job, and that's really on the helicopter side. It's either corporate or medevac, or you can do some other things like that. But at the end of the day, hey, stop! Cat scratching the bed. So anyway, but at the end of the day, that's really there's multiple different avenues you can do. You can do Gulf of Mexico. You can make a bunch of money. Do flying down there, corporate, medevac. But nobody really wants to teach for their life. To be honest. And on the airplane side, same deal. You can go airline, you can go corporate, you can do cargo eventually, but you have to build time in a subset in order to get to that next level.
Nice. Well, on that note, let's break into High West if you got it standing by.
Let's do it. I actually, it's funny. I hadn't touched this Michter's in a while, and this is my first time revisiting this bottle.
Oh, yeah?
Sour mash, no task. I mean, this is off the bottle. It's fantastic. It's really good.
Oh, you're just like, you're like, I forgot how good it was.
Yeah, no, I do. And that's it's funny, especially like I'm very, very lucky with like the bourbon lines that I get to taste. I get 1 or 2 new whiskeys a week.
Oh, right.
You know what I mean? Craft distilleries, and like it really refines your palate and does this stuff. And it's funny because certain things I used to adore, I'll come back and visit and be like, that's not as good as I remember it.
Correct.
Yeah, like this Michter's one, I'm like, man, that was good, but I didn't think it was that great. And I just tried, I'm like, holy shit, that's good.
Yeah,
just like that,
It's extremely interesting that you say that, because so when I run out, I have like 32 bottles, and it's just all personal. I don't get I don't get cool stuff like you. It sounds like you get free bottles.
You just gotta buy whiskey, man. I've got all my prizes right here. All my prizes next to me on the floor.
That's a nice box. I did see that online. But yeah, no. So it's like for me, like you make a list, and then I just went out and spent like $500-600 on a bunch of bottles that I was out of, and then like when you go and taste it again, you're like, that one wasn't as good as the one you tried. So you're like, maybe we should, like 1792. I love 1792, but then when I went and had a couple cents, I hadn't had it for like a month and a half. I had it again. I'm like, that's a whole different flavor after you went through 4 or 5 other bottles or different ones.
And especially as it opens up and breathes.
It's
an entirely different
versus new. Yeah.
Because even this one right here, like I just poured Midnight Winter Dram Act 8. This is the one for this year.
Okay.
Now I loved Act 7 last year, and this one blows it out of the water.
Really?
Water. I mean, it's just like on the nose. It's just straight like honey and.
Now, how about your on the pilot show? The other gentleman, he had that Taylor, the like Colonel Taylor or something that I saw you post.
Taylor, there's like a dozen of them, maybe more.
It was with your wife, the one you had with your wife in like a marriage.
The 18-year marriage.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, the 18-year marriage. Yep. Yeah, that one we're saving for 18.
Oh, okay. I just saw that bottle of Taylor. And I tried that, and I was like, wow, that's pretty tight. That was 16 years ago?
Where did you get to try that at?
That gentleman, the helicopter pilot, got it as a gift when he graduated the academy. Some cat out of the East Coast sent it to him or something like that. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I know. I was pretty excited.
That's really rare.
Yeah, he was like, he didn't know much about whiskey, but he was like, someone gave this to me as a gift, and it was the first time we opened it. So I'll have to let him know he's in good shape.
That's great. I've heard that bottle fetching over $2,000 on secondary.
Oh, geez, I don't know if he's aware of that.
On mine.
Yeah. So you're saying you're married, just you don't have kids yet?
No, I do. I've got 3 kids.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you threw the cat thing in there. I have 3 kids too. Mine are all graduated and in college and all that at this point.
You're old enough to have kids in college.
I get that a lot, but I do. My kids are 18, my twin boys, and then my daughter is 23. Yeah.
That's crazy, man. Yeah, I've got a 10-year-old, a 7-year-old, then I've got a 4-month-old.
Oh wow, man, you really rock. That's a big gap.
I know, exactly.
I got 2 boys and a girl. The boys are twins, and the daughter's the older one. But that's pretty cool. Now I have, weirdly enough, how many cats do you have?
Just the one, just Miles Davis.
Miles Davis, good name. Yeah, I've got 6 cats. So it's a sad story. I mean, we're not even a cat family. It just happened that when you love one cat, they become the greatest pets ever, and then the dogs are like secondary to us because
the best one I've ever had. He's the last one I'll ever have because I grew up in a house at one point that had 10 cats.
Oh,
I hate litter boxes, man.
That's the problem. Yeah. I will say that litter boxes, we have a separate room for them actually in our house. Like they have their own quarters, and it's like the laundry room. So it's like you can do whatever you want out there.
We live in a row home in the city, so we don't have enough room for that stuff. So the guest room.
Yeah, I got 3 acres out here in California, so it's about 70 orange trees and lots of room. Yeah, so it's all kind of excluded out here. I live up in the mountains, and so it's not.
God, that sounds amazing. Where at?
It's called Valley Center.
I don't know Valley Center.
No, it's literally the last rural community, kind of outskirts, where every plot of land has to have 2 acres or more.
What's the closest? Like, what's the closest major city to there?
Escondido, Oceanside, Vista, San Marcos. Any of those sound familiar?
Yeah, I got a lot of family in Oceanside.
Oh yeah, so I mean, Oceanside's the beach. You take that straight 78 from Valley Center. You just stay. We come down the mountain. Go straight to Oceanside. It's about
Thank you for saying just take straight 78.
Yeah.
My wife is from Vegas, and everybody from the West Coast says get on the 78 or get on the 10 or get on the. I'm like, I don't say get on the, like, just say get on the road. I don't hop on the 95. I hop on 95. Okay?
Right.
I don't get onto the Boyle Street. I just hop on a Boyle Street. You know what I mean? I don't go into the New Hampshire Avenue. I just get on New Hampshire.
Right. Yeah. You're just not sure why we say that, huh?
I'm like, I'm gonna hop on the 10. I'm like, no, you're gonna hop on 10. You're gonna, you know what I mean? I'm not hopping on the Midwinter's Night Dram. I'm hopping on a Midwinter's Night Dram.
Yeah, well, it's probably because I've lived here longer now. That 30 years here versus.
That's what I said. I was commending you for not saying it.
Oh, okay, gotcha. And my wife.
Down 70. I'm like, yes, a West Coaster doesn't say that shit.
Yeah, well, I still have that Eastern Shore.
Fair enough.
My mother actually just moved out here, and she's literally 71, just moved out here for the first time because of her health. And she's, lived here 2 years, 18 months, something like that. And she's still into she says wooder and Warsh clothes,
Maryland.
Oh yeah. She's deep south.
Definitely. That's like Calvert County, man.
That's classic. So tell me a little bit about your so tell me a little bit about your I guess the reason I loved your your reasoning on your question that I sent back about what made you get into whiskey, and you said it's because it helped me deal with stupid people. Now I will just give you a quick note before I want to hear yours. Is I'm extremely probably the same way. Like I have a pretty good set patience at 49. I was terrible in my 30s and stuff like that, but I still do not tolerate dumbness and stupidity. So I struggle with that, like just ignorance, like people that don't do certain things that are just so obvious, right? So go ahead and tell me what your thoughts on that, since you're the actual guest.
It's just.
Oh, you froze.
It's just the world in general, man. It's just the world in general. Like you just have so many people. Sorry, am I there now?
Yeah, you're good. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, it's just people, man. And I was being facetious when I said that, but like, you know what I mean? And ultimately, I got into whiskey realistically because I shift changed with a pilot that was huge into whiskey.
Oh.
He started to me about it, and then there was another guy, Casey, that he's just like he had me and my wife over, and we did like a whiskey taste. I'm like, oh wow, there's like more to this than it just being brown water. So I was being a little bit facetious when I said that. In all sincerity, though, like people drive me nuts. They drive me absolutely bonkers, and maybe it's a pilot in me that goes from 0 to 1,000. You know what I mean? And we're used to getting everywhere, but it's just you just look around you, man, and you just like. The thing that always worries me, it's like you always see, you ever go to Disney World, or in your case, Disneyland, I guess would be the more accessible one.
Sure.
And you just see people and they're walking and they walk like this and they're not looking where they're going right now. And then you see people that are driving, and like, I'll throw out a text every now and then when I'm driving. I'm not a hypocrite. You know what I mean? When I'm texting driving, I'm like this.
Right.
Instead of like this. You know what I mean? And it's just like, and people are just, I'm sorry if this is family friendly, but they're never fucking aware of what's going on around them. There's just like such little consideration, and there's such just like blatant, like just ignorance. You know what I mean? The world around them and the people around them and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And like, I'm very, very well traveled. I've been to a tremendous amount of countries, and there's a difference between a cultural difference and just being stupid.
Right,
it's
and lazy.
Huge difference. I'll tell you right now, like there are certain things you don't want me doing. I will say I'm stupid shit at this kind of task. I mean, like I'm incompetent with some things, but just common sense I have down.
Correct.
I have down. I don't sit there and cross the street like this. I don't hop on a piece of gym equipment and then just pop on my phone when I realize there's people around me trying to get shit done.
Right.
There's such a lack of awareness of the human beings around you. That's what drives me. Yeah, I love people in general. I forget which famous person said it. People one-on-one are fantastic, but people in large groups are horrible.
Right. Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, that's a great thing. And you can even take it back prior to the cell phone. I mean, let's be honest, every generation has its issues, right? Like, you know, just like you said, I've always told my kids, and that's one thing I've taught all three of them, is that street smarts and common sense goes a lot further than book smarts. And I don't mean in your careers and all that stuff. I'm just talking about communication, being, you know, out there and being aware, like you said, looking at people in the eyes, you know, taking a second to really understand where you're at. Yeah.
You share this world, man. You know what I mean? It's just like, just be aware of, you know what I mean? That's why, like, I love going to Disney. I've been to Disney World once in the last 10 years. But you just go there and it's like Exhibit A. I'm just, you know what I mean? It's just crazy. And just with most pilots, they have coverage. You know what I mean? But it's just like at people drive. And it's funny, like, I'll point things out to my wife sometime when you see people online. I'm like, that's why I have to share the road with. Yeah. That's why, this is why there's traffic. This is Exhibit A of why there's traffic. Why did you just do what you just did?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you pull out into a lane and then you freak out and you're deer in the headlight. I'm like, either just commit and go, or just wait. And you know what I mean? I'm like, this is why there's traffic, because you know?
And what's funny is you're probably used to not having to share. I mean, you know, I know you drive on a regular basis, but at the same time, when you're in the sky, it's pretty much just you and maybe, you know, within our surroundings, you don't have a ton of people out there, you know?
Quite frankly, it exacerbates it, because like you're dealing with so many professionals. Like ATC, 99.9% of the time are amazing. You're dealing with, like, my medical crews are like the most amazing trained people in their field. Like, they're at the top of their field. So you're around all these very efficient, very intelligent, like grade A quality human beings. And then you leave there and it's just, you're just surrounded by, I'm not a citizen. I love people. People are amazing.
You're not, don't, it's, you don't have to bite worry about that stuff. No, I hopefully no one's taking it that way, because I'm sure that people watching or will be watching know what you're talking about. And even the people that are like us, me and you, we have those minutes where we're doing it. It's just saying, like, as a society, we could probably just kind of be a little more aware and surround ourselves together.
A lot more aware. A lot more
aware. Well, did you already
be selfish as long as they know what's going on around them?
Right. Yeah, I don't care if they care about me, just like as a whole. Like, they don't have to focus on me like I'm something important. Just make sure as a group you're there. Did you finish the High West yet?
I just finished.
Oh, okay.
West. I did, yeah.
Well,
and I just poured. I haven't tasted it yet, but I just poured the Toasted Barrel. Elijah Craig Toasted Barrel finish.
Man, you're big on that.
Have you
toasted.
had this?
No, I've never had toasted. This is a small batch. I'm like a small batch.
Man, it will change your life.
I will. I'm not a smoke guy. Is that the difference?
I hate smoke. Okay. Totally different.
Okay.
Well, I can't stand scotch. I can't. I hate any of that shit. Like, the fact somebody would blow fucking $60,000 on a bottle of scotch blows my mind. You know what I mean?
Unreal. I mean, I go to Costco and I'm looking at these scotches, and the guy I had the last episode, he's a sports agent, and he's a huge scotch guy. And so I'm like, okay, he's got the Glenfiddich and all the, you know, the high end stuff, you know, and I'm sitting there like, I'll drink it, you know, like I brought two with me just to kind of help his out, and then I had him try some bourbons, and I'm like, I just am not a huge fan of that peat and the whole. I mean,
I hate it. Some people love it, like Danielle from the Bourbon Alliance. She's a black whiskey neat, loves peat, loves smoke. Like, it's right up her alley. Like, if I taste something and it's got that smell, like, oh, Danielle's gonna love this.
Right. Now, what about the Japanese stuff? Are you a fan of that?
You know, it's funny. I've actually never had a Japanese whiskey. I was just thinking about that the other day. I've got a Hakuchu 12 sitting right here next to me. I've got a Hibiki 21 sitting upstairs in the collection.
Oh, and you just haven't had it. Oh, okay. What about Irish?
I hate it. But But there are a couple Irish whiskeys I've had lately that have changed my mind.
Oh, okay. Which ones?
Powers. Okay. Powers just sent me a couple bottles. It was fantastic. And there was another one. Oh, they're gonna kill me. Can you give me literally like 10 seconds?
Yeah. I know you don't want to screw that up.
No. I just don't remember the name of it.
That's what I mean. You're like, you don't like be like, oh, sorry, you know, you just have to remember. But like for a good value price, I'm kind of a fan of the even though it's kind of an everyday, it would be the Proper 12. It's actually not a bad Scotch. I mean, Irish whiskey.
I can't do it. So, in case in point, I had a Scotch recently that I actually enjoyed. I can't remember the name of it. And the dude's like, "You're gonna love it. It doesn't drink like a Scotch. Doesn't like, it tastes nothing." I said, "It tastes more like bourbon. It tastes more like whiskey." And I tried it, and I was like, "You're not wrong."
Right.
But I don't want to have to drink something and be like, "By the way, it doesn't taste like what it's supposed to taste like."
Right.
It tastes like something else. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense.
Well, then what's the point of drinking Irish whiskey if you're just it tastes like bourbon, right? What's the sense, right? You might as well just drink bourbon. Well, I'm glad you're a bourbon fan because I mean that's literally like 92% of my I just have a couple other bottles because I've tried them on shows, you know.
Bourbon and rye. I love rye. I absolutely love rye.
Oh, really? Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that's what a Midnight Winter's Dram is. It's a blend of straight rye whiskey.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah. Oh my God. If you haven't tried a rye, I would really encourage you to try Sagamore Spirit. Is a really good one. If you want to try their Double Oak, is a fantastic rye. Their cognac finish is out of this world.
I've been trying to get that one. I mean, I've seen it in 3 or 4 different places, and I haven't pulled the trigger yet. And then Peerless as well. I haven't tried that one yet.
Got to. I haven't actually had Peerless, but Sagamore. I wouldn't recommend the lower proof unless you're mixing it. And I only say that because I'm a bit of a rye snob. Right. It's not bad at all, but the Double Oak just blows it out of the water for a few extra more bucks.
Yeah. I'm not a big, I'm a bigger, higher proof guy if I'm going to sip it because I don't usually, the only whiskey I'll mix is usually Jack.
Yeah.
Like if I'm going to mix it, it's just going to be Jack because not that Jack's bad. It's just, it's easy for mixing and it's inexpensive.
Yeah, for sure.
All the rest that I do, I'm usually over a cube. You know, I'm not going to sit there. So if I'm going to do that, I'd rather get a little bit of a buzz when it's, 98 to 112. So.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. Or I mean, I've been pushing like the 130s lately with some of the stuff I've had. It's been getting.
Have you had Boone's yet?
What's that?
Have you had Boone's bourbon yet?
No, I haven't. You're like the second person to mention that to me in like 2 days.
Well, one of the reasons is he moved to LA. He's actually we had the last name, so he agreed to go on the show too. Sure. And he created this bourbon, obviously, and he also is a musician with music. So I just I tried it because of the last name. It was on the Flavier, which is like that subscription thing. It was the one bottle I ordered, and I was like, oh, it's like 120, dude. It's insane. It's pretty high. Yeah. So
that is pretty high. That'll get you pretty good real quick. I think my new favorite sipper that's in that 112, 113 mark is Smoke Wagon. Uncut, unfiltered. That is some of the best goddamn whiskey I've ever had.
Huh. Smoke Wagon?
Smoke Wagon, uncut, unfiltered is some of the best whiskey I've ever had in my life.
I'm going to make a note of that.
So good.
Now,
Smoke Wagon, uncut, unfiltered. It's not crazy. But yeah, Smoke Wagon, uncut, unfiltered. I'll give you my top 5 right now, but that's up there. Old Forester 1920. Oh my God, is that good? Wow. Oh my God. Is that what you got right there?
No, it's Old Forester single barrel, but I have another Old Forester
which is also very good. Very good.
I'm a huge fan of Old Forester. I mean, that's a good whiskey.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, Old Forester, they pump out some really good stuff. But yeah, Old Forester 1920, Smoke Wagon, uncut, unfiltered. A Midwinter Night's Dram is fantastic. Michter's Toasted Barrel, really anything. And my favorite whiskey I've ever had, I know it's a unicorn, is William LaRue Weller. That is the best whiskey I've ever had in my entire life.
Is that expensive?
Extremely.
And that's why you say it's the unicorn?
SRP on it's probably $100, maybe $200 tops.
Okay.
I don't know what I pay. I think I paid $100 for it or $150. It's not
okay.
This year, but that sells on secondary for like $800 to $1,000 or even more. It's crazy.
And so you like Wellers?
It depends on the Weller. So like obviously everybody's obsessed with the Weller line by Buffalo Trace. The Weller 107 is out of this world.
Okay.
Out of this store pick. Right on.
Oh, okay.
The full proof that everybody's obsessed with, I don't like it. It's not bad, but I don't think it's not even remotely worth the hype.
It's trendy. Yeah.
Very trendy. I think actually that's the only 2 Wellers I've had.
Okay.
The Weller though, that is out of this world. Absolutely out of best whiskey I've ever had in my entire life.
Before we wrap up, just because I know you've got to wrap up.
No worries.
I do want to talk a little bit about, because I think it's interesting. Give me a couple scenarios, and I don't want to get into people's lives and stuff, but as a medevac pilot, like what are some of the stuff that you see do? Have you ever had close calls? Not so much as flying, but you know, what's the extreme that you have to deal with as a pilot versus a medic, or are you a trained medic as well?
No, I know nothing about medicine. I would
Okay.
literally, if I saw somebody's arm cut off, I would put Old Bay on it and wrap it with a Band-Aid. That was about it.
Old Bay, there you go, baby.
Old Bay and a Band-Aid on
Plug
it.
in the Old Bay, there you go. All right,
Exactly.
so what, do you see stuff and do you have a queasy eye and all that, or?
No, I'm the most squeamish medevac pilot you'll ever meet. I don't want to know what goes on in the back. I don't want to know what goes on in the back. I've seen a lot of things. I've seen a lot of death.
Yeah.
I've seen, and I think that's part of the reason too I appreciate things so much, because you do see people die at all ages. I mean, we see kids die, we see babies die, we see adults die. You see a lot of death, and people don't realize how little life is guaranteed.
Right.
And everybody has this preconceived notion that, all right, you have a baby, the baby becomes a teenager, and then the teenager becomes a young adult, and then they become an adult, and then they become an old person, and they die. It is so far from where life can actually be. And I see so many people on a daily basis that are sitting here on a program like this, having a glass of whiskey, and an hour later I'm on the floor, and then 2 hours later I'm having a stroke. And I'm talking people in their 30s. You don't have to be 60s and 70s to have a stroke. Right. You can be in your 20s and having a stroke, and your life has changed forever. You can be vegetable. You can be a vegetable like that. And you have no idea, I hate to say it, how frequently that happens every day.
Yeah.
Every single day. People are living lives and they have this expectation of growing old, and we all have that expectation. I say for retirement, most smart people do. I mean, I plan on doing that, but what people take for granted is that it is not guaranteed.
And it can change in an instant. Yeah.
How quickly it can change. And that's the other thing, as shitty as COVID has been this whole time, one of the most insightful things that I think I've seen come out of this is that people took travel for granted. And people used to think I was batshit. I've been in 55 countries, you know what I mean? And my wife and I have traveled a lot together, and people are like, you know, I would literally be sitting there on a Saturday night, and I would pull up Google Flights on my phone, and we always travel so cheaply. I mean, we're coach. I mean, I've been to China for 400 some bucks round trip. I mean, we've been to all over the world for, I mean, Iceland, 200 bucks round trip. I've been all over the place, and people are like, oh man, you must have all this money, you're blowing through. Like, no, you can do it really cheaply. You stay in Airbnbs, you stay in houses, you sit there, and you can sit on a plane to Australia for, you know, 30 hours on your back like this and coach, and your neck's hurt when you get off. It's just a day. It's one day. You sit there, you get drunk, you watch a movie, you pass out, you wake up, you're somewhere over there.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you can do that. But the thing is now people are like, oh, I'll go to Spain, and they put it off, and they put it off, and they put it off. And now you can't go to Spain. And now you can't go to Iceland, and now you can't go to Australia, now you can't go to Japan, now you can't go to China or South Korea or
Hawaii,
wherever. You know what I mean? So I'm hoping that, you can't go anywhere, and I'm hoping that people out of this will realize that traveling is so, we're so lucky. We're one of the first generations, realistically, that can go anywhere for any time for cheap. And there's very few things in this world that are getting cheaper as time goes on, and the only things I can think of are computers and travel, airfare. Right. You know what I mean? Like everything else keeps getting more expensive. Housing gets more expensive. Bourbon's getting more expensive. But really, that's it. But and to answer your question, to kind of come back to that whole thing, and that's why I got off my soapbox.
No, that's fine. Yeah.
Is with the close calls thing. It's not so much we have close calls. It's just dealing with weather and the pressures of weather. People don't understand how quickly weather changes. You know what I mean? I was sitting there the other night. I can't tell you what we're doing or anything like that because of HIPAA stuff, but I'm sitting there and I'm watching the fog, and I'm like, I know it's coming in. I know it's going to come soon. They're downstairs doing what they need to be doing, and I'm sitting there and I'm worried about the fog, worried about the fog. And I'm sitting there and they're taking a lot longer than they're supposed to, and I'm sitting here and I finally have to call them like, hey guys, I got to go soon if we're not going to be. And it's just, that's where the pressure comes in, is weather, because weather and wires are the two number 1 killers of helicopter pilots.
Wow.
You know, and obviously the company I fly for, I'll leave it off the record here now, but they're incredibly, I mean, they're the best. I'm so lucky to work for them.
Right.
You know what I mean? They have the best equipment. They have the best aircraft. We're all twin engine. We're all IFR. We're all trained to go in the clouds. But still, you have to take this consideration. So close calls, I mean, it really just comes down to weather, because you're in such a dynamic environment with patient care, and you're in such a dynamic environment that changes so rapidly, not just on the weather front, but on the patient condition, as far as like, you may need to be there longer, you may need to be there shorter. I mean, you're sitting there asleep at 3 o'clock in the morning, and a siren goes off, and you've got to get up and go get the patient. in an expeditious manner, but not to jeopardize the safety of the flight and making sure you do everything you need to do to get off the ground. But at the same time, somebody's in a hospital or somebody's in a wrecked car and they need you.
Right.
Now, not 5 minutes from now, but now.
Yeah.
And you have to separate yourself, you know, from like, I think of it as a piece of cargo. That sounds horrible, but it's the only way you can separate yourself from the job.
Right.
You know, in the beginning, I was like, oh, like,
it's precious cargo, but it's still that. It's cargo. Yeah.
Not even that. It's this water glass to me, because I wouldn't be able to focus on my job if I thought of it.
You kind of have to break that mindset. Yeah. Because otherwise you're flying. You worry about that, you're not going to fly as well. Yeah. And your job is to fly. Yeah.
Yeah, and you have to. You absolutely have to. And it took me 6 months to a year to condition myself to do that, because I have so much respect for doctors that have to go in and tell families that, like, hey, they didn't make it, or surgery didn't go well, or this is not going to turn out well. Like, I don't know how they do it, because I don't have to deal with families.
Right.
You know what I mean? Generally speaking, I don't have to deal with that. I have so much respect for doctors. I don't know how they do it. I couldn't imagine. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I mean, and I didn't even think about that, even though obviously you're a pilot and I should have thought of that. But the weather, especially in Maryland, I mean, let's be honest, that is truly, you know, I mean, I'm from there, and anytime other than even in the summer, you have the occasional rain, but you guys aren't blessed with the greatest weather like we are here, you know?
Nah, it's so dynamic, man, especially with the Chesapeake Bay, man. It does some weird stuff. The Chesapeake Bay does as much wonky, weird shit to the weather as the Great Lakes and as the Rocky Mountains. I mean, it is its own weather pattern.
And is that what you're flying over a lot of times? That's kind of where you're at?
Oh, yeah. And the Eastern Shore and the Western Shore can have completely different patterns, and they're separated by a couple miles.
Well, I know. It's crazy, right? I mean, it's just that 4-point-mile bridge or whatever. It's nuts. It's unreal.
Yeah, the water shallow. It's got an ocean on one end. It got, you know, blue ridge mountains on the other side. It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
It is unreal. Well, I know you got to head out, and I want to say thank you so much. I mean, obviously, we want to keep following you guys on the Bourbon Alliance and the _whiskey_thief. Freddie, it's been great to talk to you. I'll continue to chat with you, and I just want to thank you so much for your time. And is there anything you want to get out there other than what we already missed? I mean, as far as any follows or likes or anything like that?
No, I mean, that's really about it, Ken. Thank you so much for having me on your show, man. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for being so gracious about me running late. I wasn't trying to be disrespectful with your time or anything. It was just a call I had to field tonight. So thank you so much for being gracious about that. And like I said, I mean, really the big follows too. And I will promote the Bourbon Alliance over myself 1,000% all the time, because there's so much more coming out of the Alliance than just me. Right. I mean, I've got whiskey and I've got some allocated crap, but at the end of the day, the Alliance, the whole reason for that is to really spotlight people that are doing really incredible stuff in the whiskey community. Right. And it's such a good outlet for people that otherwise would not have an outlet to be able to get their products on the market, for people to be able to spotlight it. Nice. And be able to say, hey, like, you know, case in point, Lulu Prohibition, we tried it. It was fantastic. Right. I mean, there's other things like three chord. Oh my God, that was some amazing whiskey. But like, there's so much to discover outside of this. Is like me being the biggest hypocrite, Michter's and High West and Elijah Craig. I just picked 3 juggernauts. Right. You know what I mean? I could be sipping on some, you know, few or, you know, or other things like that, or you know, there's so many different good whiskeys. But really, I would, like I said, the Alliance Share is the website, allianceshare.com. Check out the Bourbon Alliance on Instagram. On our YouTube site as well, the Bourbon Alliance. And we have new videos every week, sometimes twice a week. And that is really the best source to find out if you want to get really in tune with whiskey. That's it, because you have 9 different people sharing 9 different tasting notes. And we're so blatantly honest. We will not just promote something because we think we like it. And if you want me to be, you know, lift up the skirt for a second, there's whiskey that we've tried that we all hated and we won't even promote it. There's a lot of people are like, oh, you guys just get this whiskey and you promote it and you got to say nice things about it. That is not true. There are things that we get that we do not like, that we do not promote. Right. But there's so much negative shit in the world. We're not going to sit there and blast somebody, because just because we don't like it doesn't mean somebody else.
Doesn't mean, no. I mean, it is what it is. Yeah.
Things where we tried it and the group was like, no, thank you. And we don't promote it. You know what I mean? So yeah, you see a lot of positivity because we're a positive group. You know, we don't want to sit there and promote things that we don't like. We're not there to promote things that we don't enjoy. But when we promote something, we really like it, and we think that a lot of people too. But that's really the main shout out that I want to have. Well, good, man. Well, thank you so much, and I'll hit you behind the scenes, and we can kind of see how we can get together and do some collab stuff here. But I just want to thank you. Be safe tonight,
and picking up your friend from Vegas. I just went out there about 6 weeks ago, and it's not that bad of a place, even though the pandemic's going on. You know, they're keeping their shit together. So, all right, brother. Well, peace out. Thank you so much for joining. Everyone, like,
thank you for having me, and have a wonderful night, bud.
You too, Freddie. See ya. Bye.
Yeah, bye.